American political propaganda machine, controlling the minds of African beings, controlling what I know by what I hear and what I see. Signed the Civil Rights Bill and told me I was free, and I believe. Bush bombed the towers, then said he was protecting me, and I believe. Voluntarily joined his army to fight for freedom overseas, and I believe. We've been bamboozled, run amok, mentally locked down with mind cuffs, waiting on the clouds to come lift me up. Patiently I await while I'm stuck, sinking fast in deceitful quicksand, hit with African images of Tarzan, come out of the madman, giant Ugandan, lesbian images of Suge and Seeley, written images as Nefertiti, in order to justify genocide, first dehumanize, then destroy, portray all blacks to be savages, pimps, hoes, and dope boys, murderers and liars, prevent the rise of another black messiah, discredit and fabricate, colonize and false educate, neutralize self-help with images that force me to self-hate, belittle and berate black women as gold-digging holes so that I place no value in them. So mentally distraught, I set my sights on a democratic threat to grant me my human rights. My savior is my enslaver, therefore my enslaver I refuse to fight. American political propaganda machine got me docile, undeserved tribulations and trials, but I'll wait on the politicians and white Jesus in the meanwhile. What I am forced to see is what I know, therefore all I know I've been told.
Cush's Corner podcast was created with the explicit objective to proffer insights and solutions to Black African peoples worldwide who have consistently been oppressed for centuries by the anti-Black institution, racism, white supremacy. Its straight talk discussions aim to eviscerate Black self-hatred, white assimilation, and foment healing so we can exercise collective Black progress. Remember, ignorance is curable. If you would like to support this channel, please take a moment to subscribe and press the like button. Asante.
Our God commands growth and prosperity to the African people. Peace to all God's beings. Positive Comedic Visions, PKV, is a proactive, community-based, African-centered movement committed to the absolute self-determination and empowerment of Black people throughout the world. Jumbo Black family, I am Kush the Black Unifier with another edition of Cush's Corner podcast. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. The only form of functional racism that exists amongst the people of the known universe is white supremacy. That was said by a good elder scholar, Brother Neely Fuller, in 1971. A video was sent to me a little while ago. I looked at it and I was absolutely infuriated, just infuriated and insulted, and all the check marks. It was very problematic in so many ways. It was titled, "White Woman in Zambia Refused to Let Black People in the Neighborhood." And I looked at the title of this video and I said, what is this all about? And we're gonna watch the video. It's a very short video, only about 6 minutes or so long. And we're gonna come back and chop up about it.
Quote, "No blacks allowed here," end quote, is what our sister was told during her visit in Zambia. This is in Africa. Watch this clip, we'll come back and discuss.
I was told no blacks allowed in my own country. Let's talk about it. If you follow us on Facebook or YouTube, you've probably seen the video where I shared about my childhood home. I grew up in, born and raised. I literally remember running. And because I like to keep a positive attitude and outlook on things, I wasn't going to share, but I think it's also important because it's part of the story. I value the importance of people's privacy, especially when you have a camera. I always asked before I turned on my camera if people were comfortable in being in my video. Let me tell you, these guys did not even give us the chance to ask. They just sent their guard and said, "No black people here." As much as it pinched, there's something healing about seeing that place. Every trip I've gone to Zambia, I always go there. As I had mentioned in the video, that is the last house where we live with my mom, and that's where her funeral was. So with tears in my eyes leaving there, I made it a point to go and find who the owner was. I should probably mention that the guard had let us in without realizing who we were, so we were already in the yard. When the lady who was saying the guard to tell us no blacks allowed before we got out of the car, she made it seem like I was a criminal when I was approaching her. What we call flats in Zambia, here in the States they're called like a townhome community. Before we could leave, the other women, the other housewives in the other homes had come out. At this point, we were being watched like thieves, so we left immediately. And then I went to the owner's shop. He has a shop in town. It's actually named after the town. And I explained to him, I said, look, I don't live here, and every trip I've made here, even with my kids and my husband, knowing Gabe's skin color, maybe that's why they let us before. So I told him we've never had a problem just having a look around. We're not asking to go in or anything. You guys, I wasn't even finished asking him, and he says, of course. When I went back to my country and I went to see where my dad grew up, I went and had a look at the place. So please come through at 5:30. So 5:30 comes and there's a new guard on shift. And the new guard tells us the same thing. No blacks allowed.
Rachel was trying to visit her old neighborhood that she lived in, but apparently now the residents have changed and it is white people that are living there in Zambia, in Africa. I'll repeat that fact because this is happening in Africa. So she went to visit the neighborhood that she remembers. She says her mom passed away there, so it's significant for her. That's why she went there. But she was met with hostility and racism. She was told to leave the premises because black people are not allowed. Again, in Africa, in Zambia. So she didn't give up though. She left to talk to the husband, the owner now. And the person told her, no, it's fine, you can have a look at it. She went back again. There was a back and forth. If you watched the video, she explained it, what exactly happened. And eventually, when they found out that she has a social media presence, all of a sudden, they wanted to be kind to her and good to her, even though they were disrespecting her a few hours before they found out. Tell me how this is happening in Zambia. First off, before anything else, I want us to talk about how this is allowed to happen in an African country, in Zambia. We talk about racism outside of Africa, and we're always met with, go back to your country, go back to your home. Why are you complaining? Accept it. This is how it is. At the end of the day, you're the minorities. At the end of the day, the white people run these countries. But Zambia, an African country, white people can settle in a place and tell the natives they're not allowed in that community. They're not allowed to walk in that compound. Are you serious? Is the government sleeping? Is the government aware of this? And if they are, what are they going to do? Because this is unacceptable. Will this be acceptable anywhere else outside of Africa? No, no one will allow you. No one will let you disrespect their natives, the majority of the people that are living there like this. No one will. But in Africa, we let it slide. Why? Why are these people allowed to live in someone else's country and discriminate against the people that they are living with? This is not right, and it's incredibly mind-boggling that it even happens like this. In Zambia, even if the government doesn't do anything, the people of Zambia should be aware of what's happening and should make it very clear that they should not be disrespected like this.
When we look at this video, after reviewing this video, I'm sure if you have any kind of love for black people, you also offended, infuriated, and bothered by this video as well, as I was. But principally, the first thing I want to take note of is the fact that the young lady who was the complainant, while she was talking about this incident that happened in Zambia, she was applying makeup and doing her best to Europeanize our look. And I just want to say to all my good sisters out there, I know the Barbie doll syndrome is worldwide. It's been affected us since we came over in those slave ships. Removing your racial distinction doesn't make folks less racist towards you. Removing a racial distinction just makes bigots more comfortable. So just remember that. It just makes it more comfortable. It doesn't change anything. It hasn't changed anything, and it won't change anything. So I wish that at some point the sisters will get together and have a large meeting, and make a decision to go back to natural. Go back to looking like the black beauties that God made you. Going back to this video, there are incidents that occur with whites going to Africa and taking over a neighborhood, basically, and not allowing blacks to enter the neighborhood. What's interesting about it is this is happening all over Mother Africa, not just in Zambia. I was in, several years ago, I was in Ethiopia, and I was taking some pictures, as I'd always do when I travel to Africa. And this Asian woman, I'm sure she was Chinese, this Chinese woman was screaming at me, "Don't take my picture," in her native language. I couldn't understand what the hell she was saying, but she was telling me not to take her picture. And I found it kind of amusing, but also annoying that this Asian was in Africa telling me not to take her picture. And I wanted to take a picture because I wanted to show that their presence in Africa is just astronomical. The numbers are astronomical. It's a very quiet invasion of Asians, and particularly Asians, in recent decades. And while in Ethiopia, I asked the brother, because I observed traveling the streets of Ethiopia, that there were a bunch of Asian crews that were doing street maintenance and building constructing roads and bridges and things of that nature. And I said, why don't Ethiopians build your own bridges and construct your own roads? He told me that the Asians were the best engineers, the Chinese specifically. And I looked around, everywhere I went, I saw a lot of brothers that were idle, sort of like you see here in America, sitting around, drinking beer, joking around, not working, and Asians in the street working. This was phenomenal to me because I asked them, I said, why don't Africans learn from the Asians if you have to, and then teach it to your own people so that you can hire your own people? And I don't think he ever really thought about that, or the government officials. A lot of our African countries, the government officials are quite corrupt and quite undeserving of their positions. I think that we ought to make a move to push our leaders to strengthen themselves, or at least our people to strengthen their leadership. And we can only do that by forcing them to do the right thing. But in this video, it was shocking enough in all the behavior of foreigners, and particularly Chinese as like I said, in recent decades, it's been the Chinese, but Arabs as well, whites, come to Africa and do exactly what they want to do. What actually had me going was not the actual video itself. I'm not surprised about whites coming in anywhere around the globe, taking over, doing what they want to do, and denying black people their basic human rights. Some of the comments were the things that infuriated and shocked me. Not really shocked me, because I've been doing this for quite some time now. I'm a race first African, and just angers me. One of the comments said, I'll just read a few of them. "This is crazy happening in Africa. Please, Africa, stop this nonsense before it gets worse. People of Africa, stand up." Another one says, "How do Europeans move to Africa and build their own neighborhoods?" Another said, "Y'all weak as you know what for letting them folks treat y'all like that in your own homeland. Stop crying." Another one said, "That's crazy. Africans come here all the time in America and tell us what we're doing wrong when this is happening in their own homeland. That's crazy." And I immediately sat down. I thought about the same thing happens in America all the time. Not just gentrification, but let's go back and just take a quick glance at movies like Rosewood, or we can look at situations like Black Wall Street, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Black people, this is why we must get our thing together. We must start being more analytical and intellectual about the position we're in this world. In Africa, in Europe, in America, Africans have no power. And that's because we don't have any intellectual unity. Not just unity, but intellectual unity. The problem is, brothers and sisters, we don't address our situation from an intellectual perspective. These comments infuriate me because, there's a movement afoot, and it's been going on for some years now, to make Africans in America feel like they're different than Africans in Africa. And the only thing that's different about us, brothers and sisters, is our location. Now, I'll make a distinction when I'm talking about a native African versus an African born like I was born on this soil, but we're all one people. And the easiest way to continue this unity, this unintellectual position that we have, is to continue to start to compartmentalize ourselves, if you will. Placing ourselves like with gangs in different sets. This is really ridiculous, and it's really appalling behavior that is continuing this day and time, because we have information literally everybody's walking around now with they call them smartphones. I don't know what's so smart about them, but you pretty much have a library in your pocket. And still, brothers and sisters, we don't know basic information about Black people. When I ask people about different leaders and people, and you'll see examples of that during Black History Month, Black people don't have a clue as to who Marcus Garvey is. They don't have a clue as to who Nat Turner is. Don't have a clue about the Haitian Revolution. None of that. That's all foreign, and it's just quite ridiculous. But when you think about the fact that whites are our teachers, so they, of course, are going to train us in a way. They're going to train us away from ourselves. So we have to talk about, in this short conversation, what is racism, white supremacy? I have to answer this question because, first of all, let's be very clear. Racism is more than misunderstandings. Racism is a meticulously crafted system institution developed by whites to conquer, exploit, and or annihilate, particularly Black people, but all non-whites on planet Earth. And that sounds very radical, but it's reality if you read history. Though the record is extreme prejudice plus power. Racism, white supremacy is a natural behavioral byproduct of white melanin deficient beings. Let's be very clear about that. It's a demonic and immoral institution. What else? One of the biggest myths among Black people is that racism is about ignorance on behalf of whites. We love to say that because it makes whites comfortable. But in reality, brothers and sisters, it's not anything to do with any ignorance. Whites study you all the time. They've been doing it since they've been on this planet. The reason why we don't know anything about racism, white supremacy, why we don't have self-love and self-respect, why we don't fight the right battles, is because, brothers and sisters, they have been our teacher. Think about that. The person or the people who enslaved us, is our teacher. So naturally, they give us the mentality, the intellect, and the language to defend their ideology, which is racism, white supremacy. Let's be very clear about that. This is a lot. But Dr. Francois Sullivan, she said something very important. And again, you won't hear these names during Black History Month. We'll hear, entertainers, James Brown and, a bunch of artists, Sidney Poitier and all these Negro entertainers, but we won't hear anything in inventors, Black inventors and entertainers. That's what Black History Month has devolved into. But Dr. Wilson said the majority of Black and other people of color do not want to talk about racism, white supremacy because whites don't want us to talk about it. That's absolutely true. They don't want us to talk about it. They haven't taught us to talk about it. And the reason they haven't taught us to talk about it because it benefits them that we spend all day doing anything other than loving ourselves. In other words, doing backwards and self-destructive things like getting high, not reading, not being educated. This is putting an incredible task on the people, on the brothers and sisters who are actually out here doing the work. That's out here that's trying to make a liberation stand for our people. And there are many brothers and sisters out there doing it, not just myself, but there are many brothers and sisters out there that are trying to enlighten our people, trying to wake them up. And there's another thing, wake, or woke, or, whites took that word and turned it, the white woke is homosexuality and a bunch of confusion. Black woke is waking up and understanding who you are, having love of self and respect and love and decency. Racism, white supremacy, in addition to everything I talked about, we have to understand, brothers and sisters, it's a team sport. I've always taught for the last 30 years that, and you're going to totally disagree with this, but all whites are racist to varying degrees. Now, again, that of course upsets people when they have friends like Karen and Megan and things like that. But you haven't challenged your friendship. That's why you're friends. You want to really find out how they feel. Talk about reparations. If you want to really feel, if you really want to know how they feel, talk about a religion. And the way that Christianity has been perverted. One of the best ways to properly combat racism is to bring awareness to it. Understand that. And that's exactly what I'm doing here today. Everywhere you have a black majority, they are ruled and controlled by a non-black minority. So that's just not in Africa. It's here in America also. So we need to stop this ridiculous thinking that whites are doing what they do in Africa, in Zambia, particularly in this particular video case. They're doing what they do there. They don't do it here. They do it here all the time, brothers and sisters. And we're always at the bottom of every relevant statistical scale. And that's because that's part of the plan. That's racist white supremacy, brothers and sisters. So let's be very clear that in order to combat racism, white supremacy, in order to return to our natural black selves, African minds, we have to understand who we are, and we have to de-Negrify ourselves, if you will. Now, you're going to hear me use the term Negro. I'm not trying to be insulting, but I was a Negro at one point, and we have to have an awakening. Again, not white woke, but black woke. There's a very, very big difference. Who are Negroes? When I say the term Negro, I'm talking about black people who, out of confusion, fear, ignorance, they naively assist the ambitions of racism, white supremacy. Negroes admire and trust whites. Negroes are integrations. I know you pissed off right now. Integrations, you love who you want to love. I know. Negroes are usually selfish, not committed to racial responsibility, rugged individualists. Like the sister who's making this complaint, what's going to Zambia, I believe that her mate is a white male. So, and again, she's trying to look as European as she possibly can. So, she's not committed to any kind of racial responsibility, but she's complaining about racism, white supremacy. She wouldn't call it that, though. Negroes generally have shifting morals and lack discipline. Example, we dislike, the negative term that we associate with whites, but we love the N-word. And in fact, you'll see it a lot in the entertainment world, especially with comedians. They'll tell a joke. I was talking to this white person, and I had this N come up. Those kind of situations. You hear it all the time. Negroes tolerate racism, white supremacy. They like to pretend that it does not exist. Negroes only address racism, white supremacy when it is convenient. Most Negroes are anti-intellectual and ahistorical. Now, that does not have to be. Again, we can change. We can wake up. Brothers and sisters, it's a very simple. We're going to talk about some solutions in a second. Nearly all of our heroes and sheroes are entertainers. That's a problem. And that's by design. And again, we have to look at these entertainers. We started talking about this in the 90s. Never trust an entertainer. We talked about the fact that most of these entertainers are controlled by the industry. And I can't get real deep into specifically which group controls these entertainers by and large, but we'll talk about that in a different setting. Most politicians, preachers, and entertainers, including athletes, are indeed Negroes. Negroes put beliefs above facts. Negroes will listen to this message and believe that I am absolutely wrong, but they won't be able to put any facts above their belief system because there are no facts that can conquer their beliefs. Negroes are generally the least informed. Negroes are sheep. So those are some of the traits and then you come up with other traits, but in my lecturing over the years, I've studied Negroes. Now, let's start dealing with some of the traits of whites. And again, this is going to piss some of us off, but this is historically the traits. This is coming from black man's perspective. Well, we know that whites are arrogant. They're consistent tricksters. Always put your trick back, brothers and sisters. They're unwavering nationalists, no matter what they say. They do not believe in nonviolence. They're no doubt warmongers. They have to be fighting, always starting and instigating battles. Expert liars, thieves, and murderers are psychopaths. And you have to look up what the definition of psychopath. This is from, again, a black person's perspective, and Africans. Greedy. They do not believe in sharing. They hate different. In other words, whites love it when you like them, when you have, when you have assimilated. They love that. Fanatical snoops. They love to spy and get information about other people. Incapable of diagnosing or interpreting racism and white supremacy. So they're immune to discrimination or institutional poverty, exploitation, etc. The reality is that a lot of you will ask whites what do they think about this video, for the few of you who have white friends, and they'll give you the interpretation, but understand they're incapable of interpreting this. They attempt to live in unhabitable places. This is their history. Also, whites have decided they're God above all, and we see this play out all the time. And whites will never, ever, ever change. This is proven by the fact that we've been dealing with their behavior since before the Mafia, since before slavery. Now, that sounds real mean-spirited, but we're just being completely honest. They're objective. What they do is they change the way you view them. So, again, that's easy to do when you're high, when you're miseducated. It's easy to, when you're addicted to substances, when you're addicted to their religion, they change your view of them. So that's how they continue to act the same way. If you go back 100 years, the same things that are happening now that were happening before. So brothers and sisters, we reviewed this video. This is my take and thought about what the video consisted of. And, if you want to leave comments, leave comments. And as always, I say before I have to leave some solutions. Let's stop mimicking Negro speak. I call it Negro speak. In other words, we have to abolish the N-word. Let's stop mixing anti-black criminal behavior with our freedom movement. And also the alphabet community. No matter how you feel about it, let's stop mixing their battle with our freedom movement. They have nothing to do with each other. Integration is death, brothers and sisters. Do not form close relationships with anybody outside of the race. Be a critical thinker. Do not believe that everything that you read and see in the white media is true. Most of the time it's not. Do not lie to black people. Embrace the message and stop making celebrities our leaders. Let me say it like that. The task for all racially conscious, self-respecting Africans everywhere is to expose, repudiate, and expel our traitors who deliberately betray us in the interests of racism and white supremacy. Also, non-participation in the movement is collaboration with racism and white supremacy. So get physically involved in the movement. If you're tired of hearing about racism and white supremacy, imagine how we feel about experiencing it. So let's get involved. Your non-involvement is actually a collaboration. And read scholarly materials by straight black authors. And when I say scholarly materials, I have to show you a book. I read a book last year written by a good brother. He teaches at university level, and he wrote this book, and he wanted me to review the book. It's called Secrets of the Vanguard Order. And it's an amazing book. And I'm not just saying that. You can see for yourself. It's a debut novel by the author Jomo Motegi. Kamau Njamu discovers Secrets of the Vanguard Order, recounts the harrowing ordeal of 13-year-old Kamau Njama and the rites of passage journey that threatened his life and the lives of his friends. Fortunately, he returns to share his story. There are many things to be learned from Kamau's experience. Among these are the elusiveness of manhood, the murkiness of virtue, and the draw of friendship. Secrets of the Vanguard Order is a must-read, especially for young men engaged in self-discovery and striving to transition from boys to men. This is very important. Purchase your copy today and ensure that Secrets of the Vanguard Order gets into the hands of children who need it. Secrets of the Vanguard is available I'm going to share the website. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other major online retailers. The link is also available in the show notes. Again, get your copy of Secrets of the Vanguard. It's an excellent book. And I'm not just saying that, but I did read it and I reviewed it. I don't like every book that I read, but this is absolutely a gem, particularly if you're dealing with young boys, young teenage or preteen boys. It's a must read. Gives you a lot of ideas and solutions to our issues as a people. We should make ourselves consistent with our ancestral past. That whole traditional philosophy that was based upon harmony with the universe. Let us reconnect with our ancient voice. Asante Sana.
Cush's Corner podcast was created with the explicit objective to proffer insights and solutions to Black African peoples worldwide who have consistently been oppressed for centuries by the anti-Black institution, racism, white supremacy. Its straight talk discussions aim to eviscerate Black self-hatred, white assimilation, and foment healing so we can exercise collective Black progress. Remember, ignorance is curable. If you would like to support this channel, please take a moment to subscribe and press the like button. Asante.